Is the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians the revival of an ancient conflict recorded in the Bible?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. What if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of Israel?
The Dragon's Prophecy. Watch it now or buy the DVD at thedragonsprophecyfilm.com.
Coming up, Debbie and I are going to talk about the latest scandalous revelations involving the Biden regime spying on a whole bunch of people. It's called Operation Arctic Frost. We'll also talk about Mamdani's plan to transform New York, how Tucker Carlson might be influenced by a demon, no kidding, the 3 anti-Israel camps on the right, and all those people on TikTok who say they're going to rob grocery stores if their food stamps are taken away. If you're watching on X or Rumble or YouTube, listening on Apple or Spotify, please hit the subscribe, the follow, the notifications button. I'd appreciate it. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Debbie and I are ready for our Friday roundup, and it has come to both our attention that we are a perfect match. We both are in full Navy. I think, honey, this is what they say about people as they get older. I don't think physically we can come to resemble each other because we're a different race, different color. So we're not going to see convergence in that regard. It's probably a good thing. You have some black, which is not Caucasian, and you have some Asian or Oriental, racially I'm talking about, which comes through the American Indian part. So in fact, you are far from entirely Caucasian. You are majority Caucasian.
I'm 75%.
Yeah, 75%. Do you remember the show on TV that was called the McLaughlin Group? There was this old guy named John McLaughlin. The reason I think about it is, what he would do is he'd start a show and he had this grumpy demeanor, but he'd be like, and he'd have Buchanan on and he'd have Michael Kinsley.
Oh, wait, was this a political show?
Political show.
What year?
Well, it was probably the very late 80s or maybe even early 90s. But this is how you'd begin. He'd be like, issue 1. And then issue 2. And then he would be like, I remember Fred Barnes of the New Republic was on that show. Anyway, I was thinking about it because we cover a handful of issues, and I was tempted to go, so, issue 1.
Issue 1.
Issue 2.
We have a lot of issues.
All right, so
cover.
Issue 1 is, just came out a couple of days ago, this elaborate network of surveillance and spying on key Republicans. But not just... first of all, it's bad enough it's Republican senators. I mean, think of the chutzpah of spying on Republican senators, getting their phone records, and all with the collaboration of Judge Boasberg.
Well, honey, that doesn't really surprise me, given that they also spied on you.
Well, true. You and I have talked about that.
I mean,
how did they find out about this? You exceeded the campaign finance laws. They have to have your bank records.
These people they really encapsulate what the thugs on the left in third world countries do on a regular basis.
Right. This is their model.
This is their model.
And certainly their playbook.
Yeah. And why not? I mean, they do it on a just a civilian. Why not do it on a congressman or a senator? They have no rules.
Yeah.
And obviously when they're in charge, they take charge. When we're in charge, not so much.
Yeah, well, and also what's clear from this whole operation is it is a fishing expedition in search of crimes. They want to find, you know how the left is. They're like, probably because they tried to rig elections, they're convinced that Republicans must be doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So they think we'll cast a wide net, we'll look at everybody's bank records, we'll look at all their phone records. We're bound to find something.
Yeah. Well, even if they don't find anything, they make up things. Look at the Steele dossier. I mean, they made it up. They made it up.
So now we have the sight of, and I've seen already Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, many others railing against this. This is bigger than Watergate. But I think you and I and many people on our side are a little weary of all this because we hear this kind of heated rhetoric, and we've been hearing it for years, and then we hear no more about it. It just goes away.
It's kind of like the dog growling. And if all the dog does is growl and he never bites, then you're going to get to the point where like you're not even going to pay attention to the dog.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because you know that all he does is growl.
So what we're saying here is that there needs to be genuine accountability. Now, I agree. I'm not saying that words don't matter, because you can have public hearings, you can bring people out and sort of shame them, you can expose them, you can make them look bad. And very often that kind of disgrace will then lead to them resigning from this or quitting that or being ejected out of this or losing their license. So the rhetorical part is part of it, but I think it's also important to go after their law licenses. I know Brandon is trying to push forward a bill to impeach Boasberg. Look, this looks like, if this is not impeachable, what is?
What you told us yesterday on the podcast about Boasberg and what he did, talk about corruption at the highest level. At the highest level.
And maybe, because some of these senators, I have to say, now not Cruz, but others, they have known that the government does this to other people. But they didn't do much about it. In fact, some of them made generic statements. You've heard about senators who made generic statements supporting the FBI after January 6th. But maybe now that it's come to bite them,
right?
They will be more.
It's personal,
right? It's going to affect them more because they're going to realize that if you don't. And Vance, by the way, made this point. J.D. Vance was at one of these campuses, and he said, "Look, if you don't do it to them," this is almost quoting me, right? If you don't do it to them, they're going to keep doing it. And he goes, and don't do it to them because they might do it to you.
No, they've already done it.
They've already done it. And he goes, and they might do it to you regardless. So I think Vance here is echoing the now kind of woken up sentiment of the Republican Party that we're dealing with very gangsterized Democrats. All right, let's talk about Mamdani. Mamdani is very close to the finish line. The election is coming right up. The odds on Polymarket and other places are Mamdani is essentially a shoo-in. I don't even think at this point it's going to matter if somebody drops out. I don't think anyone's going to drop out, but even if they did, I don't think the Mamdani train is going to be derailed. What do you think this means? Is this the Venezuelization of New York City?
100%. Well, yeah. Look, I read the other day that the majority of the SNAP recipients comes from New York.
New York State?
New York City, I believe.
New York City.
Yeah. So, can you imagine Mamdani on top of that? It'll become Venezuela in like 6 months.
Yes. Well, it's, I'm tempted to say that the mayor is not all powerful, but the mayor in New York has a lot of power.
He does have a lot of power.
Yeah, he does get to oversee construction, zoning, permits.
Taxes.
There's obviously education, local taxes. So, and why do you think, coming back to the question that I think we've struggled with off and on, I don't think satisfactorily answered, why do people vote for this?
Well, if what I just told you is true, then the people that are voting for this are the people that want to continue to get it. They want the candy for free. They want to continue to get, and so they smell entitlements. They smell free stuff. Why not? If that's their mentality, why not keep going?
The fellow who robs Peter to pay Paul
can
always count on Paul's support.
Exactly right.
And you're saying that the number of Pauls exceeds the number of Peters.
Yes.
And so the number of Pauls want to keep looting the number of Peters until all the Peters, as in
become
Venezuela,
Pauls.
That or they leave.
Or they leave. Yeah. So I told you the other day. I said, it's really funny because I often say, if you rob Peter to pay Paul, then all the Pauls are always going to keep voting for you, right? In Venezuela, my family happened to be Peter. but they became Paul.
Right.
And not by their own choosing.
Right. They didn't realize they were voting for someone who would wreck the economy.
They'd wreck them, their
and
livelihood.
Take their stuff.
Yeah. So
and,
it's disturbing. But the other disturbing thing about Mamdani, not just the socialist aspect, but the Islamo aspect. So Islamo-socialist aspect. So, I told you jokingly the other day, and you seem to like that, is I said, he's the ultimate human victory arch. For New York.
And I've quoted that. I need to explain it a little bit because some people may mean, what are you
What do
talking
you mean?
about?
What do you
Well,
mean?
what we mean is that Islam, through the centuries, they like to mark their conquest. And they like to mark it by building a structure. So, for example, when Constantinople fell to the Turks, 1453, the Islamic conqueror, whose name was Mehmet the Conqueror, he rides into the Hagia Sophia, the biggest church, the most famous church in Byzantine Christendom, maybe second to St. Peter's in Rome. He goes into that church on his horse and he says, this place will become a mosque. That's the victory arch, the mosque. Similarly, as we both know, standing in Jerusalem, pretty much anywhere you look, and the biggest thing you see is the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is an Islamic victory arch built by the Umayyad caliphs after they conquered Jerusalem, and they put it right on the site of the Solomonic Temple. So you're saying Mamdani is a human, a walking Islamic victory arch a quarter century after 9/11, looming over New York City.
Correct.
I mean, that's just that thought alone is pretty arresting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when there was a fight over, they wanted to build a mosque on the very site of the World Trade Center. And I mean, it was just, people were just going nuts over that. Well, they were patient. 25 years later, they may not have their mosque, but they will have their mayor.
They'll have their mayor. And also, what I noticed happening regarding 9/11 is something that we saw in miniature over October 7th. Notice how in October 7th, the focus quickly moved away from October 7th. So suddenly every civilian casualty, either real or in some cases even staged, the so-called Pallywood phenomenon where you have, you see this man, he's carrying his dead son, and suddenly you notice the son's twitching and his feet are moving, and so the guy's very much alive, but the photographers are snapping away. So you got some of that. But what I'm getting at is this, that after 9/11, the horror of 9/11, the victims of 9/11 were very much etched in people's mind. But here comes Mamdani now 25 years later, and he goes, my aunt was afraid to wear her hijab on the subway after 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Because of Islamophobia.
Oh, yeah.
So according to Mamdani, his aunt is the real victim of 9/11.
Right. And as we know, that's all a lie. First of all, his aunt didn't even wear a hijab.
And his aunt wasn't in the country. She was actually hijabless, like in Nigeria or someplace else, Uganda, I guess.
Yeah, but it makes for a good lie, right? But here's the thing about these Islamists, is that they quickly become the victims. And this goes pretty much everywhere they do their thing, okay? Look at Hamas. Look at the Palestinians. You know that the Palestinians were cheering when Hamas was bringing in the bodies that they had captured. I mean,
we showed pictures, we showed photos, and
they were stomping on
people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In fact, I have a very graphic video that I did not give you guys to put in the movie. That it shows them stomping on someone's head and literally decapitating the head.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so graphic.
These are civilians.
Yes, these are Palestinian civilians. Now, they're older. They're not children. They're, teenagers and older people, but they're on the street. I mean, they did horrific things, but they're the victims, guys. Come on.
Now, let's think about this for a moment, because in normal life, you can't do this, right? If you're a serial killer and you kill 10 people, there's just no way that you can go to court and say, I'm the victim. You can never pull that off. the jury will be infuriated. You'll get the death penalty or
Yeah.
life in prison.
No, but there is
How is it that you can do it in politics?
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, look, there's a little bit of that. I mean, look at the Menendez brothers, right?
Well, that's
look
true.
at Ted
in
Bundy.
In some cases,
Look at they kind of become chic in a weird way,
right?
They get a lot of girlfriends. They it's like they become like.
Or as we know in the Menendez case, they try to make it that they were angels of justice.
Yeah.
Their parents were abusing them.
Yeah.
Now, Bundy was not like that, but with the case of Bundy, somewhat similar, by the way, to the guy who shot the United Healthcare guy.
Yeah.
There's a kind of, the guy is suave, and there's
Right.
a certain type of, that's what you're
Right,
getting
right.
at.
That's what I'm
But
getting
with
at.
Hamas, it's
Yeah.
much more than that,
No,
because
of
Hamas
course.
is not suave.
Of course.
But so what you have in that case is an attempt to reverse the status of the victim and the victimizer.
That's right.
Which is, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's quite a propaganda coup to do that.
It's an unbelievable propaganda coup, and I kind of step back and I'm like, how are you the victim? How is it that look at all the Christians, the thousands of Christians that are being killed in Africa, and we're not even talking about the Christians in Africa.
I talked a little bit earlier this week about the situation in Nigeria. So now there is a massive eruption in the Sudan.
Yes.
Where these Islamists, again, and they go, as we know, by different names. Here they're Hamas, they're Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and on it goes. These guys, but it's the same breed of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And even if they have different nationalities, they're really motivated by the same Islamic radicalism. It's pushing them in the same direction. And and these guys are making people dig their own graves.
Oh, when I saw that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
They make you jump alive into the grave, and then they put
yes,
dust and
you
dirt
basically
on top of
you basically suffocate. Yep.
I mean, this is it's straight out of a horror film.
Yeah, but
except it's real.
That's because these people are demonic. I keep saying it. I don't know how else to like.
Right. This is not right. This is not what we're coming. And we try in the film, by the way, to do this is to bring people face to face with something, and then you cannot just understand it situationally. It's good, it's evil, it's staring you in the face, and you need to think about it in those terms. And that's what you're saying here. This is straight out evil.
Straight out of Satan, straight out of hell.
Right, straight out of hell. And yet, the media is nowhere to be found. You can go.
Well, the media is also demonic. I mean, if you really want to talk about all the demons at work, the media is part of it.
It's a festival of
I'm afraid so.
Of evil. So the media is not covering it. Interestingly, the voices on the left and the right that were shrieking about Gaza, and in many cases shrieking about a genocide they were never able to substantiate. In fact, they can't, now that the information is coming out, their case is even weaker.
Of course.
Because it's now clear that there has been no shrinkage of the population of Gaza. There are no mass graves.
Right.
All of this. In fact, you see life in Gaza, and I pointed this out earlier in the week. I'm like, listen, you look at all these videos, people are going to work, restaurants are serving lattes and muffins.
Yeah.
So
all lies.
Unless those restaurants have been constructed like in the last couple of days, no, the restaurants were there before.
But this is what makes me really, really sad, and that is that you have a small country, and we'll probably talk about this later, but you have a small country that is surrounded by enemies. Surrounded. I mean, it would be the equivalent of us being surrounded by enemies, Mexico and Canada, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And they continually infiltrate. They come through the wall, they come through the border, and they start raping and killing and beheading 30,000 American citizens.
If you do the math. Yeah.
Right? And we're just supposed to sit there and take it? And then not only that, but then when we attack back, they call us the ones committing genocide.
Right.
So that's what's going on in Israel. And it's hard for me to believe that Israel doesn't have a good PR or something that can say, listen, those numbers that Gaza gave, those are fake. That's, that.
Well, the irony of it, of course, is that had Israel carpet bombed Gaza to the ground, the whole thing, on October 8th, the whole world would have to shut up about it, because it was on the immediate aftermath of October 7th. So the great paradox or irony is Israel said, no, we don't want to carpet bomb everybody. We need to just go after Hamas.
That's
and
right.
That's going to take much more targeting.
That's right.
We're going to have to put more of our soldiers at risk. We have to plan it out. We have to develop the proper maps. We've got to defuse all the mines. And the fact that Israel stretched it out like this in a social media age.
So that they wouldn't kill civilians.
But as a consequence worldwide, let's just say for the gallery, for the people who are watching the show, almost like spectators of a game, the spectators are like, well, listen, we've forgotten all about October 7th. Now, why are you going over there and doing all this stuff? What you're saying is there's a dislocation of perspective, but what I'm saying is the dislocation of perspective is partly caused by the time element, by the delay. It's almost like you have a kid who does something terrible, and then the parent needs to spank the kid immediately.
Yeah, because otherwise,
if you spank them 2 days later, the punishment is disconnected from the offense. Even the kid doesn't know why he's being spanked. He's like, why are you spanking me?
Exactly.
And you have to tell him, that's because you did this.
Well, when I was a kid, I was very smart because I would hide or lock myself in the bathroom so that my mother's anger, the spanking,
would cool
off. It wouldn't be quite as bad.
So you'd still get spanked, but just maybe not as much.
But not as the
rage.
The rage was
I'm gonna teach
was
her
a little less. Was a little
and you
less.
knew that.
And I knew that as a kid, right? I knew that as a kid. So I mean, maybe it's almost the same here.
There's a really powerful film coming out from Angel Studios and the Wonder Project. It's called Young Washington. It tells the untold story of how George Washington's character was forged long before independence, when he was just 20, facing failure, loss, and near death. Directed by John Irwin, who made Jesus Revolution, American Underdog, and starring Andy Serkis, Ben Kingsley, and Kelsey Grammer, it's a sweeping, high-quality production that reminds us what true leadership, virtue, and providence look like. This isn't revisionist history. It's the real story told with courage, truth, and respect for the values that shaped America. Young Washington releases on Independence Day 2026 on the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding. Become an early supporter by joining the Angel Guild today. Premium members get 2 free opening day tickets to help bring this inspiring story to theaters across America. Go to angel.com/Dinesh. That's angel.com/Dinesh. Help make Young Washington the #1 movie this Independence Day. I know a thing or two about being targeted by the government, but don't give them a reason to target you. Owing the IRS back taxes? Well, that's a good way to get targeted. Are your tax returns still unfiled? The tax extension deadline may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you missed the October 15 deadline, or if you owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. And here's a harsh reality. The IRS can charge a penalty of 5% per month, up to 25% of your total tax bill, just for not filing. That's in addition to what you already owe. The good news, there's still time for Tax Network USA to help you. If you're self-employed, if you're a business owner, and hey, if your books are a mess, they've got you covered. Tax Network USA specializes in resolving financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. With tools like property seizures, bank levies, wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. It's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is 100% free. In one short call, a few simple questions, the experts at Tax Network USA can determine how much you can save. Here's the number to call, 800-958-1000. Again, it's 800-958-1000. Please tell them Dinesh sent you, or just visit TN, Tax Network, visit tnusa.com/Dinesh. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. Now, you mentioned
Anyway.
demons, and I think this
Yeah.
is a natural transition to
Yeah.
a topic that we've been reluctant to mention on the podcast, but it is worth mentioning, and that is the statement by Tucker Carlson that he was assaulted by a demon. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first time I heard about this is from the comedian Ami Kozak,
Mhm.
who, in mimicking Tucker, talked about, I've been molested by a demon. And I thought maybe Tucker said something to that effect, but I had never seen what Tucker said.
Yeah,
But now I have.
Yeah.
And Tucker was giving an interview, and apparently Tucker, like, it's not just as like, oh, you know what, I woke up, I was molested by a demon. Tucker goes into it.
No, he was attacked by a demon.
He was attacked by a demon.
Scratched.
That's right. He was scratched by a demon, but he claims that the claws of the demon were in his sides, and they left blood, and there was blood on the sheets. So Tucker really went into it, and Tucker then sort of left it like, okay, well, I don't know what to make of it. But the reason this is important, when I was on Roseanne Barr's podcast, she was like, oh, it's not just Qatar. You know, Tucker himself talked about like demonic possession, and then Roseanne goes, I know the name of the demon, and I'm like, what's the name of the demon? And she gave me some name. I think it was like Belok or something like that. Apparently,
the anti-Semitic
I think
demon.
it came out of like Jewish
It's
Kabbalah.
the anti-Semitic demon.
The anti-Semitic demon. Okay, well, there you go. And she's like, I've tried to tell Tucker that there are certain, like, I don't know if there are things that prayers you can say, or if you could take certain libations to exorcise this demon. Well, let's talk about why we're even raising all this. It's because I think we have come to the realization through the film, and also by reflection, that natural explanations for anti-Semitism are rarely sufficient. You know, people are envious of the Jews, or people, or just the Jews are different, and therefore people tend to scapegoat them, or they're a convenient minority. Well, all of that may be true, but think of it. There are other groups that fit those definitions, right? The overseas Chinese are very successful. In certain places in the world, Asian Indians are very successful, as they were in Africa before. And so people did have envy and so on, but you didn't have the same anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but this is thousands of years old.
Thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And I think what we're saying is that and we give a theological, I don't think we don't insist on this in the movie, but we just sort of put it out there. Namely, the idea here is that the devil, or the dragon, cannot overthrow God, cannot dethrone God. And so the dragon picks on the things that God cares about. So God cares about Adam and Eve, Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And so the serpent goes, Adam and Eve haven't done anything to me, but that's okay. I want to ruin them, because in ruining them, I get revenge on God. And the movie advances the idea that God loves the Jews. The Jews are the chosen people of God. So the devil says, if I can ruin the Jews, if I can make people hate them, if I can throw them out of their ancestral homeland, if I can take their holiest site and stick an Islamic victory arch on top, if I, the devil, can go sit on their holiest site, that will teach God a lesson. And not only that, you have the spiritual Israelites, as Jonathan Cahn calls them, the Christians, and so the devil goes, I'm going to go after them. I'm going to persecute them. I'm going to target them. And interestingly, the vehicles, or the human tools used by the devil, are the same in both cases, right? It's the same people who are launching the attacks against the Christians in Nigeria, in Sudan, as are attacking Israel out of Gaza.
Yeah.
So,
and we say in the movie that Satan was the first anti-Semite.
Yeah, I'd never thought about it that way. I say that line, but it's not original with me. I'm basically getting it from Jonathan Cahn.
Jonathan says that,
right?
Yeah.
And it's a very striking line, and it's worth thinking about, because it comes out of this framework that the devil does not choose his targets randomly.
That's right.
And the point that you were making about Tucker is, let's just assume Tucker's not like making this stuff up, which is a possibility. But let's say he's just being truthful. Something happened to him. You're like, why would the demon pick him?
Right. And I always say that when somebody is possessed by a demon, or a demon attacks them, they have done something to cause that. They have opened a portal to cause that. There are different ways. I mean,
like in The Exorcist.
Like in The Exorcist, someone could delve in the Ouija board,
The occult.
or have a seance, or start reading about Satan. Or interestingly, I read this yesterday, but in some instances, it's when people start reading about other cultures and other religions.
Yeah, I want to make
could
there's
happen.
a distinction to make here, though, which is I think that, like, I read a lot about other religions, but I do it in an academic way. Like, I'm not reading about Hinduism because I'm thinking about becoming a Hindu. I'm not like, okay, I'm going to go in the Himalayas and find a yogi or a guru.
Yeah.
No, I'm reading about it academically, like, what do the Hindus believe about life after death? But what you're saying is that sometimes a kind of mental openness to other religions lets the demon in.
That's right. Or if you're not really grounded in Jesus Christ, because if you are, just the power of being grounded in Jesus Christ, having him in your heart, is enough to combat the devil.
Yeah, interestingly, in that very exchange, Tucker admits that that for him, this was all so alien.
Yeah.
He says, I did turn and read the Bible, and he says it was very transformative.
Yeah.
But by transformative, I think he meant it was interesting.
Yeah. So this is another reason why I, again, when we were at Charlie's funeral and he was speaking, and by the way, I mean, prior to all this, I didn't really know what to think of Tucker. I mean, we met him. You've known him a long time, but
He's a big fan of yours.
I met him in Australia, and I mean, he seemed fine.
By the way, none of these topics came
no,
up. It's
none
not
of
like
this came up. Yeah, we didn't talk about this
that
at
was
all.
the old, in a way, that was sort of the old Tucker.
Yeah.
By that I mean I have to remind myself about how recent this Tucker turn has, because that we were in Australia. When was that?
24, June of 24.
June of 24.
Yeah.
And Tucker was.
Yeah, we didn't talk about any of that.
We didn't have a hint of this.
No,
nor
not
did
at all.
Tucker bring it up.
Not at
now
all.
he can't do a show.
Yeah, without
not just bringing it up, but focusing on it.
Right.
Every topic moves in the Israel and Jewish direction somehow, inevitably.
So I am bothered a little bit. I'm bothered by that, obviously, because it's very evil. Very evil. And again, I do think that it's a demonic thing to do when you are anti-Semitic. I mean, when you inherently hate the people of God, I think it is a very dark, dark place.
Now, I do want to say in this context that as I kind of got into this debate over the last several weeks in connection with the film, I have resisted almost with physical force using the term anti-Semitic, right? But I'm like pulled against my will to it. And here's why. Because I'm always trying to give another explanation than anti-Semitic. Partly because, terms like anti-Semitic, like racist, they can be overused. And so I don't want to make it seem like, okay, you're criticizing Israel, so you're anti-Semitic. Not necessarily. You don't like Jews, you're anti-Semitic. Not necessarily. But I think when you see that on a wide swath of issues, let's go through a quick list, right? First of all, the Jews killed Jesus. That's one track. The second track is you think Sharia law is not so bad. That's a whole second track. You think that the elected prime minister of Israel, that's backed, by the way, in the war, both by his own party, Likud, but also by the Labour Party, is the most evil man, even more evil than Hamas. You think that Christians who are Zionists are more objectionable than radical jihadi Muslims. I mean, so as you go down this now fleshed out Tucker worldview, the chorus of anti-Semitism kind of grows louder.
It does.
And ultimately you become evasive if you are avoiding it, because how else can you explain this ensemble of views that is not only radically different from what Tucker himself used to say, but it's like it's now the full anti-Semitic package.
Yeah.
He's holding the Jews to a different standard. Even his text to me, where he's talking about genetic studies, I'm like, in what other subject do we do this? right? Do we do genetic studies on the Irish to make sure that the Irish who live in Ireland today have a 100% genetic lineage from the Irish of, let's say, 2,000 or 4,000 years? Who even thinks like this?
Right. Someone that has a dark spirit in them think like this. That's what I'm trying to say.
And my point is, from a secular side, they are singling out the Jews, which is always a clue that they have got a Jewish itch.
Yeah, well...
Right? And that's what the devil is scratching.
I
think that's
right.
what you're saying. Incorporating a wide variety of whole food ingredients into my daily routine, well, that's key for me. And Balance of Nature fruits and veggie supplements make it simple by giving me the fruit and vegetables that I need. And I simply don't have the time or energy to eat them. These are the capsules right here, fruits and veggies, very easy to take. These harvested ingredients are freeze-dried into a fine powder using an advanced vacuum cold process to better preserve nutritional value. I can say with total confidence, I'm getting 31 ingredients from fruits and veggies. And by the way, if you don't like taking pills, no problem. Consider opening your fruit and veggie supplements, mix the powder into a smoothie, or sprinkle it over food. Easy to take. Join me in taking Balance of Nature every day. Go to balanceofnature.com. Get a free fiber and spice supplement. This is the fiber and spice, very good for you. Plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code America. Again, go to balanceofnature.com. Use discount code America. You get a free fiber and spice supplement. You get 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer. Mike Lindell and MyPillow are having their big 3-in-1 sale. They've got a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular price, $119.98. Now just $29.88. Once they're gone, they're gone. So move now. My towels, they're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set. Regular price, $69.98, but now only $39.98. And for the first and only time, get their limited edition premium My Pillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen size $17.98, kings only $19.98. Also for a limited time, when your order is over $100, free shipping plus $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-876-0227. That's 800-876-0227, or go to mypillow.com. Use promo code Dinesh. You get the best offers ever. Quantities are low, so order now. Go to mypillow.com. Don't forget the promo code. It's DINESH, Dinesh. Let's talk not about Tucker, but you have identified 3 different anti-Israel camps. And I think what you said to me is we shouldn't lump them all together. There are 3 different strands, 3 different arguments. So let's go through them quickly one by one. What are the 3?
Mm-hmm. So I don't want my tax dollars going to another country,
right,
i.e. going to Israel.
Yeah, that's number 1.
Number 1.
That's, by the way, that's also the Matt Walsh position. He's at Daily Wire. And Matt Walsh's position is, I'm not anti-Israel. I don't want my tax dollars going to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So no foreign aid.
Mm-hmm.
That's a consistent position, by the way. We wouldn't dream of calling Matt Walsh anti-Semitic. You can have that view. So that's one view. Let's go on to number 2.
So I hate the government of Israel, not the people of Israel.
Right. And there is a legitimate distinction. You can actually criticize the government. I just criticized the government when I said that, hey, Israel could have gotten away with carpet bombing. You could criticize the government for allowing October 7 to happen in the first place. No one is claiming that criticism of the Israeli government is somehow impermissible or even unchristian. That's ludicrous. That being said, there's one caveat worth making, namely, we are talking here about a parliamentary democracy. Netanyahu is the elected leader who represents the people. So it's kind of like saying, you know, I like the American people, but I don't like the actions of the Trump administration. Fine, that's a legitimate distinction, but Trump is also, in fact, the elected leader of the American people. So in a democracy, the distance between the leader and the people is closer than if you say something like, I don't like what the Emir of Kuwait is doing. I don't have anything against the Kuwaiti people. Well, the Emir has nothing to do with the people. The Emir makes decisions on his own. He's essentially an autocrat. So that's a point worth making. What's the third group?
Right, the theological.
The theological. And that's probably where you and I feel the strongest, partly because this is something that is crucially important to us, which is our understanding of Christianity itself.
That's
now,
right.
I do want to say I was reading an essay, in fact, you gave it to me, from somebody we know, who was making points defending a very, I would call it, moderate version of replacement theology. And I did not object to what he was saying. So let me give an example of what he was saying. So he said, for example, that in the Bible, there is the phrase, the Lion of Judah, the Lion of Judah. But for Christians, the Lion of Judah refers to Christ. Christ is the Lion of Judah. That's a theological reading from within Christianity. He said, however, Israel has taken that phrase, Lion of Judah, and used it to describe their military campaign. It's like I didn't know this, by the way, but it's apparently like named the Lion of Judah. Now, I'll tell you that, you and I know that even in America, we give ridiculous names. I remember under Reagan, the MX missile was called the Peacekeeper. So there's something a little bit kind of bogus or even distasteful about these things. Evidently, Israel gave it that name. And so the argument was that no, the Lion of Judah is a sacred concept referring to Christ. It is being debased by being used in a political way. So look, I can kind of see where the guy was going, but you had a counterpoint to that.
Yeah. I said, why not?
Why not?
Why not? If it does point to Christ, then I think maybe it's supposed to be that way.
Or what you're saying is, look, I mean, isn't it a good thing that the Jews in Israel live in a country where they are getting their slogans and concepts right out of the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, they're taking a concept, maybe out of the Old Testament, Lion of Judah, and Christians understand it as referring to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Jews may not understand it that way. And what you're saying is, listen, the Jews have the right to interpret their scriptures.
That's right.
They have the right to look at the Old Testament and say, we think that the Lion of Judah refers to the strength of Israel. In fact, that's how they do see it. We may disagree with them,
right?
But you're like, why are you getting all worked up about a Jewish people taking their own scriptures and taking references in their own holy books and applying it to actions of their own elected government?
That's right.
So
yeah, because I see that, I think what he's saying is don't cross the spiritual with the political.
Exactly.
But in America, I want the spiritual and the political to go hand in hand.
Right.
Because I want our pastors to preach what's in the gospel so that people vote what's in the gospel. So why not?
And apply it to the actual real world problems and situations that people face. We've been talking about that.
That's right.
On the podcast for years.
Right. So the other thing too is that, I keep having to argue with people about the theological, and what I feel that a lot of these people are trying to do on our side, by the way, and by the way, I'm not so worried about MAGA, dividing. I'm worried about Christians dividing. That to me is more important.
Is a bigger problem.
Is a bigger problem, a bigger issue.
The fracturing of the Christian body of believers.
Yes, because as a Bible believing Christian, I believe in the entirety of the Bible. That means I believe in from Genesis to Revelation. Boom, one book. I don't separate the New Testament from the Old in that sense. I don't say, you know what, I'm going to stop reading the Old Testament because Jesus Christ.
Everything changed.
Because everything changed when Jesus came to be, right? And so the new covenant is Jesus Christ. Therefore, I don't need to worry about what Abraham, what Moses, what any of the prophets.
Now let's slow down on that, because nowhere, and I mean nowhere, does Jesus say that everything changed.
That's right.
Now, you will find that both in Jesus, but more commonly with Paul, there is a claim that something has changed. But something has changed is very different from everything has changed. So you always have to pay attention to what is the something that's changed. But whenever you look at the thing that's changed, you always have to ask, what is still left intact? So let's look at the famous scene where Paul meets with the apostles, and they are discussing the question of whether or not the Gentiles who are following Jesus need to become Jews. And the agreement between Paul and the apostles, a very, by the way, important event in the history of Christianity, is they agree that the Gentiles do not need to be circumcised, do not need to keep the Sabbath on a Saturday, do not need to follow Jewish dietary and some of the other rules and regulations. And so that's changed. However, think of what's not changed. These new Christians, these Gentile Christians, have got to incorporate the entire Jewish scriptures from Genesis, creation, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Exodus, the Ten Commandments, Moses, all the prophets, all the Psalms, David, Isaiah,
the Judges.
All of that is unchanged. All of that is essentially engrafted. Not only is it engrafted in, we are engrafted into that.
That's right. We're a part of it.
So the people who talk about replacement are always very slippery about, they act like everything's been replaced. What's the biblical authority for that? There is none.
Yeah.
I have never seen any plausible contextual defense of the idea. And quite frankly, let's think about this. If everything was replaced, why not remove the Old Testament from the Bible?
That's right. To carry around the New Testament.
After all, why go on with an entirely false religion now tied to a true one? If Judaism is completely false, why on earth would you preserve the Jewish scriptures and every single Bible printed in the world has both of them?
Right. But what I come back to is Jesus was not a Christian.
Well,
Jesus was a Jew.
Now, some people are like shocked by this and they misunderstand what we're saying. We agree that salvation is through Jesus alone.
That's right, yes.
We also agree that the coming of Jesus changed everything, right? Because God sends his son. This is an epical event. But I think what you're saying, which is not in any way contradictory with this, what you're saying is that God does not, just as God doesn't throw us into the world and go, you're a human being. God goes, no, you're a man, you're a woman, right? We come into the world with particularity. And similarly, when you look at the history, biblical history, God didn't just say, I'm going to send my son, but he's going to represent all races. He's going to be white and black.
He's not going to be a Jew.
Right. He's not going to be a Jew. But God didn't do that.
No.
God, the universal God of all mankind, entered the world through a particular group of people. And it so happened to be the exact same group of people that he had chosen a couple of thousand years earlier when, in a sense, God, I won't say created the Jewish race. I'm speaking a little too, Jonathan Cahn puts it in a more precise way. I think he says something like the Jews were issued forth. He uses a different kind of formulation. So, and then God said, my son, who is going to save the world, is going to come out of these people.
That's right.
And we can't ignore that.
We can't take him out of those people.
Right.
No matter how much they want to.
They're
cannot.
desperate to do it.
They're desperate.
They would love to have it. They would love to have God come out of like Salt Lake City.
Something.
Right? I mean, that is actually the Mormon view, or at least apparently there's a fight between two groups of Mormons, one of whom thinks that in the end times God will come back to Salt Lake City, the Messiah, and the other group thinks he will come to Independence, Missouri.
Yeah, and they're both wrong.
I remember when I first heard this, I just had to laugh. I didn't say anything. I just laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah.
But the replacement theology people aren't that far from it. They think that somehow America's in the Bible, right?
And
America
it's not.
First, Dinesh.
It's not.
I'm like, America's not in the Bible.
No.
There's no mention of it.
Jerusalem.
And so if you're not in the Bible and you want to be part of the biblical story, your only choice is to take sides with the people who are on the right side in the Bible. You're not in it.
That's right.
Right? You don't get to choose to be in it. You're not in it.
You're not in it.
Yeah. So you can either be on the side of God or you can be on the side of Lucifer, and there are no other sides to take.
There are no sides. And the really kind of cool thing is in the movie, at the very end, after the baptism, we show that wall. And remember that Jonathan Cahn said that the Islamists sealed that wall because that wall represents the Messiah. He's going to come through that wall, through the east gates like that, right? And he's going to come into Jerusalem. That's in the Bible.
And you know what's funny is the replacement theology people, at least some of them, are so stupid that they don't know this. But guess who does know it? The Muslims.
They do. That's why they covered it
That's
up.
why they blocked the wall. They're like, you know what? If the Messiah is going to come through that wall, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
We're going to make sure that doesn't happen because he's not our Messiah.
He's not
Why
our
isn't he not their Messiah? Well, we know the answer to that one.
Yeah. All
Yep.
right, we just have a couple of minutes left.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about these people.
And this shutdown that keeps going on.
Oh no,
and
that's
on.
what I'm going to pivot to. So I'm going to be like, we don't even need a transition. I'm going to be like John McLaughlin. Issue 7. Issue 7.
Yeah.
And then he used to go, Fred Barnes and then Morton Kondracki.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Deborah D'Souza. Issue 7. All these TikTok people who say, listen, if you take my food stamp benefits, if they cancel my food stamp benefits, we're going to go start robbing grocery stores.
Right. So I called it snap and grab.
Snap and grab. Right?
Because
they're threatening.
They are threatening.
And I guess here's my take on it.
Unbelievable.
If we look at these disgusting specimens of humanity, right? Many of them are just, first of all, every video I've seen, these people are able-bodied.
Able-bodied.
I've never seen somebody who's like, I look at them and I go, that guy can't work. No, these are people who totally can work. And they even say, I have 4 kids. I don't want to work. You can't make me work. And one of them even said something like, this is America. The taxpayer needs to work so that I can not work. Wow. And then I think to myself, this is the type of repulsive human being that the Democrats have created.
They love them.
They have worked since FDR to produce these. And this is a very rare type of person because you won't find them in other cultures. Because other cultures don't pamper them.
You do find them in Venezuela.
You find them in Venezuela, and you do find them in some of the welfare states of Europe.
Yeah, you do find them because why? Because the government created them. First of all,
the same forces at work have produced this.
Yeah, this fight between this socioeconomic and this one, and the fact that robbing Peter to pay Paul, the fact that you're attacking all the Peters, and you're fine with it. And you are on the side of the government because the government is doing it for you, even though the government. This is what's so interesting about this phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
When Hugo Chavez was still alive and he started doing this to the Venezuelan people, he would go around and promise these people, these poor people that lived on the side of the mountain, they had like a shack, right?
Yeah.
He promised them refrigerators, microwave ovens, all kinds of goodies, electronic goodies. Well, guess what? These people didn't even have electricity. How are they going to use those appliances?
Yeah.
But the fact that they were being promised all these things and, just wonderful stuff that, by the way, never happened, never materialized.
They're not getting that now.
No. And so, but it never did anyway. It was just it was the promise to get the vote, right?
Yeah.
So, again, these people.
Well, the Democrats use that here.
Promised.
Basically, the idea, I think, is this. The ordinary citizen, your vote is free. And by free, what I mean is all you have to do is show up, make a marking on a piece of paper, or send in your ballot. So it's free to you. So if the Democrats can say that I'm going to, in a sense, buy it by promising you this, I'm going to give you free loans, I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to forgive your loans, I'm going to give you a car payment, and so on. They're giving you something for nothing, which is essentially the heart of democratic politicking.
It is. And why do you think the Democrats get so bent out of shape when you say things like, you need an ID to vote?
Right.
Why do you think they get so mad? And like, oh, it's the Jim Crow and all that. Because why? Because some of these people don't have IDs.
Right.
And if they don't have IDs, they can't really go vote.
Well, and let's also even look at why they don't have IDs. Most of them, a lot of people do have IDs, of course, but the people who don't have IDs, it's because the Democrats have created a slothful human where they basically go, we will deliver life to you on a platter. You don't even need to go get an ID.
You don't need to do
because
anything.
we're going to make sure you can vote without it.
Uh-huh.
And if you're homeless, by the way, you don't even have to show up at a soup kitchen. We will send social workers to you with hot food.
And you can use the address of the building behind you.
To send in your ballot. Exactly. And not to mention the fact that the nice thing about this whole arrangement is for every homeless guy, we will have 17 social workers that we'll put on the public payroll so we can rip off the taxpayer and create a lucrative operation that is servicing the homeless.
This is very painful, and it's going to have to stop. And I really hope that if Thune is listening to this, that he uses the nuclear option so that we can open up this government. Because
open up the government, but I'm a little disappointed that they haven't slashed some of the government, the size of government. They had talked about doing it.
Yeah, but they can't even look. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we're blaming the Republicans because the Republicans are in power. No, they're not. They need 60 votes in the Senate.
Yeah, they don't have effective control, and it's actually very rare. LBJ had effective control. FDR had.
Yeah, and look at all the entitlements that got passed during that administration.
At that point, it's just like write a law. Everybody else sign over here.
Yeah,
and it goes right through.
What I'm saying is, we need to use the tools that we have, actually, that the Democrats built. For them to use
the filibuster killing nuclear option.
Let's use it. Let's get this government.
We have it. We have the power, and you're saying use it.
Use it yesterday.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.